When a prankster tried to steal a guardsman's hat but got trapped by its fur. London, a bustling square. The famous royal guards stand motionless like statues. Tourists snap photos, take selfies, and shout jokes. Among the crowd, a young man in a cap and jeans stands out. With a wide grin, he says to his friends, "Watch me make him laugh." Approaching closer, he reaches for the tall fur hat of a guardsman. Confident his stunt will go viral on YouTube, he tugs at the hat. But as soon as he pulls on it, the hat, as if made of solid rock, topples him over. Losing balance, the tourist flails his arms and lands flat on his back. His jacket twists around him like a straitjacket, leaving him hopelessly tangled. The crowd erupts in laughter. Someone shouts, "Hero of the day!" Meanwhile, the guardsman doesn't even blink. Blushing with embarrassment, the prankster crawls back to his friends. A spectator captures it all on their phone, and within minutes, the video hits the internet titled, "When a Tourist Overestimated His Own Strength." A tourist wanted a photo with a guardsman, but ended up dropping his camera when the soldier roared. The sun shines brightly as crowds of tourists wander near the royal palace. Cameras click non-stop, capturing the majestic guards. But one particularly persistent man isn't satisfied with just photos. Wearing a silly hat, he steps close to a guardsman, waving his camera right in the soldier's face, hunting for the perfect shot. "Hey, soldier boy, give us a smile," he laughs. The guardsman, unmoving until now, suddenly takes a sharp step forward and booms, "Stay back!" His voice, like a thunderclap, startles the man so much that he jumps, dropping his camera with a loud clatter. The crowd gasps, then bursts into laughter. Pale and flustered, the tourist hurriedly picks up his camera, mutters an apology, and scurries away under the disapproving stares of onlookers. The guardsman returns to his post as if nothing happened. Someone in the crowd whispers, "Serves him right." A child gave a guardsman a flower, and he broke protocol to pin it on his uniform. The bustling crowd of tourists surrounded the guards, snapping photos and laughing loudly. Amid the commotion, a little boy holding a flower stepped forward. He couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Looking up at the guardsman with wide eyes, he saw a hero from a fairy tale. Slowly, the boy extended the flower, a red rose, toward the soldier. The crowd fell silent. The guardsman, regal and motionless, seemed unaware of the boy's gesture. Seconds stretched on until finally he moved. Slowly and deliberately, he took the rose and carefully pinned it to his uniform. The crowd erupted into applause. Phones came out. Some people teared up, and the boy smiled, as if he'd won the world. His parents proudly filmed the moment. The guardsman resumed his position, but the atmosphere remained magical, proving that even strict traditions can yield to humanity. When a bold Karen grabbed a guardsman's rifle, she was fined on the spot, and the crowd cheered. She arrived like a storm. The clack of her heels cut through the chatter, and her sharp, indignant voice rose above the crowd. "Why are they so boring? We're tourists. We pay to see a show." With a short haircut, confident stride, and a haughty expression, she embodied the stereotype. Marching up to a guardsman, she loudly proclaimed, "Well, at least let me hold the rifle since you're just a statue." Before anyone could stop her, she reached for the weapon. Her attempt was interrupted by the swift arrival of security guards. "Ma'am, step back immediately," they demanded. Karen bristled. "I'm a tourist. You're supposed to be polite." But the guards were unmoved. She was fined on the spot and ordered to leave. The crowd erupted into applause. Someone shouted, "Serves her right!" Karen stomped off, muttering angrily, while the guardsman remained at his post, unflinching. A guardsman bent down to help a lost child find his parents. Amid the noisy crowd at the palace, the sound of crying pierced the air. A little boy, about 5 years old, stood alone in the square, clutching a teddy bear. His tear-filled eyes searched the crowd, his voice trembling as he called, "Mommy! Daddy!" People glanced at him but hesitated to act, preferring to avoid the situation. Then, one figure broke the pattern. A guardsman. At first, it seemed impossible he'd move. Bound by protocol, he stood rigid. But after a few seconds, the soldier turned his head slightly toward the boy. Breaking his stillness, he bent down and, in a calm yet firm voice, said, "Don't be afraid. Where did they go?" The boy, through sobs, pointed to the far end of the square. The guardsman nodded and pointed in the same direction. What happened next surprised everyone. The boy ran to him and hugged his leg. The crowd froze. This breach of protocol was a moment of pure humanity. People applauded, some filmed, and one woman wiped away tears, whispering, How touching. Moments later, the boy's parents arrived, thanking the soldier profusely. The guardsman resumed his post, but the warmth of the scene lingered, a reminder that even strict rules can bend for kindness. A tourist threw trash at a guardsman's feet, but the soldier stepped forward and crushed his toe. A noisy group of tourists filled the square, discussing the sights, when one of them, a tall man with an arrogant demeanor, decided to make the day fun. Approaching a silent guardsman, he snickered loudly with his friends. In his hand was an empty coffee cup. "So, you just stand here all day?" he sneered. "Here, have a gift." He threw the cup at the soldier's feet. The crowd fell silent, watching in shock. Someone murmured, "Why is he doing this? That's so dumb." The guardsman didn't react at first. But then, to everyone's astonishment, he took a deliberate step forward. His polished black boot crunched down on the trash, and on the man's foot. The tourist yelped in surprise, grimacing in pain. "Hey, what are you doing?" he protested, but his words were drowned out by the crowd's laughter. "Serves him right," someone shouted. The guardsman's face remained stoic, as if the incident were just another part of his duty. The embarrassed man limped away, his friends chuckling nervously. Someone captured it all on video, and it quickly went viral under the title Guardsman Justice. A guardsman helped an elderly man retrieve his fallen cane, silencing mocking tourists. In the palace square, an elderly gentleman strolled carefully, his fragile frame supported by an ornate wooden cane. As he passed the guards, his cane slipped from his hand, clattering to the ground. Tourists, who had been loudly joking about the funny statues and hats, turned their attention to the scene. Some laughed, muttering, "Let's see if the guard will actually do something." To them, these soldiers were nothing more than lifeless mannequins, but the guardsman defied their expectations. Taking a step forward, he broke his stillness and bent down to retrieve the cane. His movements were graceful, his expression dignified. He handed the cane back to the elderly man with a slight nod, as if performing an honorable gesture. "Thank you, young man," the gentleman said softly, bowing slightly in gratitude. The crowd fell silent. Tourists who had mocked the guards a moment ago looked sheepish. Some began to clap, and a woman said, "See, these men deserve respect." The guardsman returned to his post without acknowledging the applause, but the atmosphere had shifted. The tourists no longer saw lifeless statues, but dignified soldiers, earning their respect.